Welcome to the Pennies Lab at Tacoma Community College.
Today's lab is broken up into two parts. For part one, we'd like you to get a beaker of pennies. On the inside of the beaker are 40 different pennies from a variety of different years. We'd like you to take pennies out one by one, record the year in which the penny was made, and then the mass for that given penny. We're going to use a digital scale to record the mass. It's important to remember with digital scales that you want to include every single digit on the scale. So if your penny shows as 2.300 grams, you want to write 2.300, not 2.3. Those zeros are quite important. After you've collected data for each of your 40 pennies, we'd like you to graph your data using Excel. I'll show you how to do that in a supplemental video. What you should be looking for is any unique trends in your data. If you notice a unique trend, try to come up with a testable hypothesis that you could further explore in another experiment. For part two, we want to take all of the pennies and find the net mass for all of them. You can add up the mass of all of the individual pennies, but that's a lot of work. Instead, what we'll likely do is just get the mass of everything on the inside of the beaker. That will be our net mass in grams. After that, we want to find the volume of all of the pennies. So what we'll do is we'll use volume displacement by using water on the inside of a graduated cylinder. That will tell us the volume of all 40 pennies together. From there, we'll have our mass in grams, and we can divide that by our volume in milliliters. That will give us the density of our pennies as a whole set. After that, we can compare the density that we found to the density of copper. If it's the same, we could argue that pennies are made of copper. If it's different, we may need to come up with another testable hypothesis. That's something you should think about at home. In the next set of videos, what we'll do is we'll show you what you would do if you were in lab performing this yourself.
The first thing you want to do is find a digital scale, open it up, put a weighboat on, and then hit tare. When you hit tare, that will adjust the value on the scale to 0 grams. From there, you want to grab a penny out of your beaker, record the year in your notebook, and then place the penny on your scale. You want to do this for each penny, recording all of the digits that you see on the scale. This goes much faster if you have a partner helping you along the way. The next step is to find the mass of all 40 pennies. So first I've tared my scale, then I've put a beaker with all of my pennies on the scale. I will record this mass, and then I will dump out these pennies and put the empty beaker back on the scale. I can subtract the mass of the empty beaker from the full beaker to find the mass of all 40 pennies. The next thing we need to do is to find the volume of all 40 pennies. In order to do this, I grabbed a 100 milliliter graduated cylinder and I filled it approximately halfway full with water. As you can see, the bottom of the meniscus is in between the hash marks for 52 milliliters, but just below the hash mark for 53 milliliters. That means we need to estimate all the way to the 10th place. We wouldn't say it's 52 milliliters, we wouldn't say it's 53 milliliters, but rather I would estimate that this is about 52.5 milliliters. Next, we will grab our graduated cylinder and add in all 40 pennies. We need to be careful to not splash any of the water out of the graduated cylinder, and we want to make sure that we get all of the pennies on the inside of the tube. After that, we will record the new volume of water using the proper number of significant figures. Just like before, we want to see where the bottom of the meniscus is. In this case, it looks like it's in between the 66 and 67 milliliter hash marks. We want to estimate one digit beyond that, and to me, it looks pretty close to the 67 milliliter hash mark, so I'm going to call this 66.9 milliliters and record this in my lab notebook. Now you have all of the lab data that you need. Check Canvas or your instructor's handout for details regarding your lab report. Good luck!